In my opinion, he should be just the biggest addition to WWE roster.
I know not everybody likes to hear that. Everybody likes to imagine seeing him where they want him to be, but I think he just has to.
AEW?
Sure, people all have all kinds of opinions. They want to see him all
Yeah,
kinds of
but
places, but
all right,
like you're
let's
saying,
provide it that Okada has 3 to 5 year run with WWE. Okay, then he can still go to AEW though
of
as a
course,
main event.
I
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. So, well, it depends on what the man wants to do. Like I brought up Nakajima because that's one way you can do it. You can go freelance a little bit, explore. Yeah, I remember when Taiji Ishimori, before he signed with New Japan, I remember he would dabble. He went to TNA and he did indies in the US and he popped around and then he solidified. Shingo Takagi did as well. You know what I mean?
Well,
Who knows?
the this January 25th thing was TNA Impact that Okada appeared. That's how he wants people to think.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
he's not going there.
But
Yeah,
it's a great press. So,
yeah, I think so. And also appearance in American Ring, American Turf.
of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Technically, it's
yeah.
Canadian, but it's whatever.
Oh, okay, okay,
Neither
okay.
here
But
nor
but
there
the
these days.
English speaking world.
Sure.
Yeah,
Western
yeah,
world.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we talked about Ibushi and Marufuji, and if people wanna, send us, different opinion or questions, we'll answer that. And we talked about Okada, and then if people have different opinion or questions, we'll take that.
Please. Yeah.
And yeah, and then we have to talk about Killer Khan.
Yes. The
Yeah,
late Killer Khan.
because because he officially had retired back in 1987, meaning that he was gone 37 years ago. 37-year meaning that if you were like a late 40s into early 50s, they were still in junior high school
Mm.
when he retired. So it's not like kind of wrestler that people remember. You have to be old enough to remember anything about Killer Khan.
Yeah, I mean, and if you are old enough, you definitely remember Hulkamania. Killer Khan was a big part of Hulkamania, at least if you.
Yeah.
That's from what I remember. Also, I have a question quickly. Did after he retired, Killer Khan, did he immediately move back to Japan, or did he live in the States?
He during okay between 78, 79 into like 84, he was actually living in Florida, married.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw Killer Khan, I remember it wasn't on a wrestling TV show. It was on a kids' TV show in America with Missing
Oh,
Link.
really?
Yeah.
Appeared as a monster?
He was it was like a kids game show where like the kids would face like a special adults like celebrities like sports people and they one episode
Ah.
they had to fight against Killer Khan and I believe Missing Link and some other guys that weren't in
Oh, probably
WWF at the
when he
time.
worked world class data stand. Yeah, because
Could have been.
Missing Link sounds like world class Dallas.
I don't
Yeah.
know if these guys were actively working at the time though. I think they were maybe just retired or
Oh, okay, okay. But the Killer Khan was type of wrestler that he worked WWF, of course, and NWA Florida, NWA Georgia. He
Mhm.
worked Bill Watts, mid South wrestling. Mid South meaning like your Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Then he had a run in Mexico. He went up to Calgary, and he had WWE at the time when he initially worked WWE, it was like 81, 82, 83, that it was before national expansion,
Mm.
meaning that the New York, the Boston, the pretty much East Coast area. But he worked all over these, what we used to call it, territory days. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then also, the biggest run was that 81, supposedly, of course, and he broke Under the Giant's leg.
It was
That
big.
in reality, yeah, in reality, that in hotel room, when Andre the Giant tried to get up in hotel room, he broke his leg.
Huh.
But the Vince McMahon Senior, not this Vince McMahon, but the Vincent James McMahon Senior, he came up with the idea. Killer broke Andre the Giant's leg. The killer was born.
Hmm.
and not just Madison Square Garden and the Boston and Philadelphia or Baltimore. He this Andre the Giant and Killer Khan package went up to Toronto, Montreal, Louisiana. He went to different territory as a package. So Andre the Giant, he was a traveling superstar all year long. It's under contract with Vince McMahon Senior's WWF, but Andre the Giant traveled all year long doing all the battle royal and things, right? Different territory when all the different NWA and AWA company were harmonized, just geographic territory. And he was like a Vince McMahon Senior's ambassador under the Giant going different places. Most of the time they're doing battle royal. When Under the Giant come to your town, it's like a mega show, right?
Mhm.
And one year it was Under the Giant against Killer Khan package deal. This guy broke Under the Giant's leg, man, kind of thing.
Mm.
And so he was pretty much like beyond territory superstar. Killer Khan was, yeah,
Like
and
an
probably
attraction.
yeah, and probably people think he was from Mongolia, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Where did the Mongolian gimmick come from?
When he first like excursion,
Mhm.
he was sent to Mexico. He was
Mhm.
sent to Mexico in '78, and his name was Temujin Mongol. Temujin is Genghis Khan's child name.
Mhm.
It came up by Karl Gotch, none other than Karl
Hey,
Gotch. Yeah.
wow.
Interesting, huh? Well, Karl Gotch, when you say it was a pioneer of MMA and all these, all shoot wrestling and all these things, but all in all, he was a professional wrestler too,
Mm.
you know. And Karagach, it's useless trivia, but Karagach gave Sakaguchi his first atomic drop, like for the butt. I mean,
Mm.
no Japanese wrestler was doing it, so he came up. Okay, Sakaguchi is as tall and big as he was. He should use One Japanese wrestler should use atomic drop. So Karagach gave Sakaguchi atomic drop, and Karagach gave Inoki octopus, the signature octopus.
Mhm.
Yeah, Manjigatame. Yeah,
Mhm.
and also that the he Korgach also gave Riki Choshu his signature Scorpion Deathlock. I mean, after it's like a came actually Korgach spent a lot of time in Mexico.
Mhm.
Okay, and it was from Hamli's gym that you have Mexican jabe, like
Mhm.
Mexican submissions. They came up with this, Scorpion Deathlock, and it became Ricky Choshu's signature move for the next 40 years. If it wasn't for Ricky Choshu's Scorpion Deathlock, there was no sharpshooters. You know what I'm saying? So it's a useless trivia, but they had a lot of that. The Korogach had a fingerprint on a lot of historical things. Anyhow, this Temujin Mongol, that the child name of Genghis Khan, Temujin Mongol name was given by Korogach. That was Killer Khan's very first name in Mexico. Then he, after Mexico, he went to NWA Florida, then became Killer Khan, Genghis
Mm.
Khan, grown up. Yeah, adult life. Yeah. And NWA Florida at the time was like a Dusty Rhodes, the Jack Briscoe, the Eddie Graham, like a golden era of your NWA territory. And Killer Khan was like instant killer, big heel. Yeah. And Killer Khan was an interesting character because he shouldn't be doing Mike, right?
Mm.
I mean, he's like more like an Abdul the Butcher or King Curtis type that he should be doing making face,
Mm.
you know.
Madman.
Yeah, and then heel manager should be doing the talking. And in Florida, Tiger Hattori was his manager
Mhm.
before he was referee. Tiger Hattori, the same Tiger Hattori that we know from New Japan. And Sonny King, the black guy, he was
Mhm.
also manager. And when he went to first round with WWF, he had Freddie Blassie, of
Mhm.
course, Killer Khan. Then went down south in Louisiana. He had people like Gary Hart and Scandal Akbar.
Mm.
Always had this typical signature heel manager of the territory. And what Killer Khan did was this. I mean, right? I mean, he didn't speak a word of English, which is fine because he just does work. And he went to world class. He went to Louisiana, went to NWA Georgia, NWA Florida, and went up to WWF. Now, of course, had a single match program against Bob Backlund at the time too. Yeah, and the biggest round was though his single match program was Under the Giant,
Mm-mm.
81, 82. And also there was a single round robin spring tournament in New Japan called Madison Square Garden Series. 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. Yeah, 5 year period, 78 to 82, until inaugural IWGP tournament. The very first IWGP tournament was 1983. Okay, up until then, there was a Madison Square Garden series. All the superstars from WWF goes to Japan and fight people like Inoki, the Fujinami, the Sakaguchi, the young Riki Choshi, and all these things as a package. And the final Madison Square Garden series, spring of '82. The tournament final was Antonio Inoki against Andre the Giant. Inoki got injured and you needed a sub.
Mm-mm.
You would think people like Fujinami or Sakaguchi go in there, right?
Mm-mm.
Instead, they had the idea. We'll use Killer Khan as Inoki's sub. And you know that the Under the Giant and Killer Khan was the tournament final. Very interesting.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And of course, Andre won, but it was like, this is like, that's the main event, the big arena in America, that was actually the biggest year for Killer Khan. And useless trivia that the December of '82, there was a Madison Square Garden tag team tournament. The final was Inoki and Hulk Hogan tag team against Killer Khan and Taiga Toguchi Kim Dak. Tiger Chan Lee. Yeah. So it was like a Japanese heel against Inoki and young Hulk Hogan tag team. It was a tournament final. See, Hulk Hogan was a big, huge superstar in Japan years before he was a Hulkamania.
Of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
yeah. And also another useless trivia was though when Killer Khan was working in NWA Florida in Tampa, there was an apartment complex that all the boys lived.
Mm-hmm.
Fujinami lived there, Taiga Hattori lived there. Upstairs, young Hulk Hogan was living in the same apartment complex. Yeah. He was just trained to be wrestler, but he was still playing bass for the band Ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they were friends. Yeah, yeah. The Hulk Hogan and Killer Khan's always been friends. And 10 years ago already, wow, 14, 10 years ago, Hulk Hogan actually came to Japan for vacation
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to find a GTR, that Toyota GTR 5 speed. It's like a legendary, 5 speed car that is hard to find. Hulk Hogan is like a car collector, right? And came to Japan to find mint condition GTR, and he was staying at the Kio Plaza Hotel. And the first night, he took cab to Killer Khan's restaurant, wanted to catch up with friends.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So they were close. And what Killer Khan said, as Hulk Hogan walked into the restaurant, no appointment, nothing, right? Terry, Terry. Yeah, it's like, yeah. So they're friends, and
Mm.
Hulk Hogan is so misunderstood too. That he's actually very, very friendly, nice guy. Yeah. And they got together. Killer Khan's English not perfect, but it doesn't matter, right? Communicate. Yeah.
And you mentioned Killer Khan had a pretty popular bar restaurant.
Restaurant, yeah, bar and grill. I spent every New Year's Eve for the past right before the pandemic. So 2017, 18, 19 into 20. Yeah, I was there just about every year and have toshikoshi soba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New
And
Year's
that's the New
noodles.
Year's noodles, yeah. And when you have this celebrity restaurant and bars, named after this big celebrity or something, when you go there, they're never there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the Kirakan's bar, he's always there, always there, And he's the one come and take order,
Mm-hmm.
from you, and he's the one bringing food to your table. And when bar's not really too crowded, he'll probably sit next to you and then talk his wrestling tales.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was in
super friendly
Shinokubo.
in Okubo. Yeah, and
Okubo.
when the pandemic broke up, that he had to close the place in
Mm.
2021, but he reopened the bar in another part of Nishi Shinjuku, and
Oh,
that was the
okay.
last place. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So he had probably like 5 different locations in the last 20 years or so.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But he always was like in food, like a restaurant business.
Hmm.
You know why? Because it's chanko. It's a sumo culture. He was born in 1947, meaning like 2 years after the war, right? And he was 76 years old, right? Okay, 10th grade, he played basketball, but he quit high school and joined sumo wrestling in 1963. He was sumo wrestler until like 1970, so he had 7 year sumo career. That's where you cut your tooth, right? Like as
Mm.
a you know sports celebrity and sumo culture and being in front of public eyes and as big as he is, as a Japanese, he's huge, right?
Mm.
And he was perfect for sumo, but it wasn't quite yokozuna or anything like that. But he quit sumo in spring of 1970 and joined JWA, Nippon Pro Wrestling in 71. In 73, he was one of the 4 wrestlers who joined New Japan with Sakaguchi. Seiji Sakaguchi, Daigoro Oshiro, Masashi Ozawa, later Killer Khan, and Kengo Kimura, young Kengo Kimura. Yeah. Those 4 wrestlers quit Japan Pro Wrestling and brought the TV Asahi deal with them and joined the second year of Inoki's New Japan.
Mm.
And after Sakaguchi's group joined New Japan and Inoki and started the TV, World Pro Wrestling, TV Asahi, I mean, the program that runs all the way till now,
Mm.
that JWA went down 2 months after. So it was like he was part of the changing a big change of landscape of Japanese wrestling. And he was Sakaguchi's young guy, yeah, at the time. Then 76, the very first overseas tour the Killer Khan Ozawa had was with young Fujiwara. Interesting, huh?
Mm.
Yoshiaki Fujiwara, Amba Fujiwara. Young Fujiwara and young Ozawa was sent to Germany, then West Germany, huh?
Mm. Mm. That's
I mean,
right.
like, yeah, because there was West Germany and East Germany, but he was sent to Germany, yeah, for one tour. I mean, like the fall to winter season tour, yeah. Then came back. So actually, he was there in the ringside when Inoki had this famous single mixed fight against Muhammad Ali. He was in ringside.
Hmm.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
With Carl Gotch.
Yeah, but what was one of the young boys, so he wasn't
Yeah,
important then.
but he
See,
was
when you
there.
see, yeah, Inoki, Muhammad Ali fight, you see Korogachi in ringside, Sakaguchi in ringside, and everybody else. But he was actually in the background.
You mentioned he was around for the changing of the tides in Japanese wrestling, but even in the 80s, he was around for
Right,
that little change
Ishingun,
too.
right, because
That's
he
right.
turned heel in the ring and joins, Riki Choshu, Masa Saito, and Kuniaki Kobayashi, and this is a heel. Now we call it like a faction, right?
Mm. It's like
And
NWO.
yeah, that actual heel faction became Japan Pro Wrestling, and Riki Choshu and his 15 guys actually moved to All Japan and signed with Giant Baba. Yeah, that was interesting. There was like 84 UWF guys left New Japan, right? Like Maeda, the Takada, the Fujiwara, all this like 10 guys gone. Then Riki Choshu and his 15 guys gone. Then all of a sudden that the New Japan became skeleton again. Then then you had Rookie Muto, Chono, Hashimoto in that pack. The
Mhm.
history is interesting. Yeah.
Very, very.
But yes, Killer Khan was part of the Riki Choshu's group who migrated from New Japan to All Japan. Then what was happening was that 2 years later, in spring of 1987, Riki Choshu and his guys, like, you know, Kuniaki Kobayashi, the rookie Hiroshi Hase, the
Mhm.
rookie Kensuke Sasaki, the super strong machine, the Norio Honaga, that group went back to New Japan.
Mhm.
Mysteriously, Killer Khan was not in that package. Spring of 87, he was one of the few guys, along with like people like Yoshiaki Yatsu and Haruka Eigen, that he decided to stay with All Japan package. And it's like later years, like up until now, that the in when Ricky that the Killer Khan has this YouTube channels, he was bad mouthing Ricky Choshu until the last days.
Mm,
For some reason. I mean, like, he was not in the package to go back to New Japan.
I see.
Instead, he stayed with All Japan 80, spring of '87. But that was the year that Killer Khan decided to have his final tour with WWF.
Mm,
All by himself. He went back to States in summer of '87, had a program against Hulk Hogan right away. And he was tag teaming with Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. And he had another run with '87 version of WWF. Then he came back to Japan with no retirement match or no retirement ceremony, and he's been gone out of the ring ever since. So he disappeared from wrestling scene in 1987 and never came back once.
hmm. That's rare in
But he was
wrestling.
in public eyes because he was running his own restaurant. It's been popular, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of the very mysterious part of Killer Khan's um, disappearing and retiring. He did retire in '87 without making like an official announcement.
Hmm.
He just quit. Yeah.
No Onita
Never, yeah,
style
never went back to New
retirement.
Japan. Never went back to Old Japan. His final destination was WWF and short program with Hulk Hogan. Then came home and never wrestled again. Interesting, huh?
Very unique,
Yeah.
and I can't
Yeah.
compare him to
Yeah.
too many. He's
Yeah, because most guys will come back and have at least few matches, huh?
usually, especially in pro wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
after '87, he never once went back to the ring.
mm,
But he was still Killer Khan,
always
not
Killer
Masashi
Khan.
Ozawa. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Masashi Ozawa. Well, that's his real name, but his bar was always Killer Khan's bar,
hmm.
restaurant. Yeah. And he always looked like Killer Khan after his wrestling. He never grew his hair back. He always had this Fu Manchu
Hmm.
goatee, and he was big guy, and he always treated other people as Killer Khan, and he was treated as Killer Khan. Yeah, yeah. And also, he was selling Killer Khan T-shirt and sports towel and other photos and other things, right? But
Hmm.
he never sold anything on the internet.
Mm,
Very old fashioned, huh?
very,
Yeah,
yeah.
because you have to go to his restaurant to buy his gimmick.
Hmm.
Nothing was on the internet. I mean, this day and age. Yeah.
Everything is, yeah.
Yeah, but so people who went to came to Japan who managed to go to Killer Khan's restaurant, they all got picture taken with Killer Khan and bought T-shirt
Hmm.
and ate his food. Yeah, yeah, and he'll be friendly enough to be talking his wrestling stories.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Kind of a sumo style thing too. There's a lot of sumo
I think
wrestlers
so.
that.
Once you quit, you don't come back.
Mhm.
Yes, that's
With
a very
that
sumo thing.
and opening a restaurant, chatting with the
Yeah, that's very
customers,
sumo. And chanko, yeah,
Tanko, it's a
chanko
very
food. Yeah,
it's pretty. I guess that's why what makes him different is he kind of took that sumo
sumo value.
post sumo life lifestyle.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Pretty quiet
and once you're
life.
like what Tenru said, once you're a sumo wrestler, you always be sumo wrestler.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because Tenru was sumo wrestler before he was professional wrestler. You know, much like Killer Khan. Yeah,
Rikidozan and
Ricky Dawson. Yeah, yeah. So
quite a few
once
others.
you're a sumo wrestler, up here always will be sumo wrestler, huh?
I think so.
Value orientation,
Lots
and
of traditions and rituals
traditions.
to
Yeah,
remember and etiquette and
I
way
guess. Yeah.
being in public and such. Yeah.
And everything cash instead of credit card.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that much cash in his pocket always.
Yeah.
I mean, you could apply credit card and they'll give it to you, but he just doesn't trust credit card. Always carry a lot of cash in his pocket. Very small, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Killer Khan, I think this is our generation's raw or like I think it's our task that we will talk about Killer Khan, and because what was interesting is another thing was that his matches are not in New Japan World.
Mm.
None of the matches. You know why? Because that the TVSI people and New Japan people came to um, Killer Khan's restaurant before they started this New Japan World streaming service. That would it be okay to have you in there and all these things, like also sign the paper, that that he will. It's kind of like a disclaimer, right?
Hmm.
All his previous matches archived on New Japan World. So you'll have the match we talked about, Under the Giant against Killer Khan, the Madison Square Garden tournament final, or the Madison Square Garden tag team tournament final. Inoki Hulk Hogan against Killer Khan and Kim Dog. That should be in there, don't you think? Historical
Sure.
matches, but none of the Killer Khan matches are on New Japan World because he says, "I'm not interested. Don't put me in there."
Mm. A few
So
wrestlers did that. Like Brock Lesnar did something similar too, and there was some. You can't find certain wrestlers' matches on New Japan
right,
World.
but they will be willing to pay certain percentage appearance, right? But the Killer Khan said, "No, I'm not interested. Don't put me in there." What's interesting is that like a 70s matches, like Inoki against Tiger Jeet Singh or something, in the background, young Killer Khan's walking around ring, right?
Hmm.
It has a mosaic on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, like a strange looking footage.
Pixelated. They can't even show his face, like it's
Yeah,
a
because they were
criminal or
like,
something.
not but like if you show, I mean, it's not. He never said that I want to be part of this New Japan
Right. You
World.
can't show
You
his
know,
likeness on the screen
right, right,
because
right.
he needs to
Yeah,
sign for it. Yeah.
or Killer Khan's lawyer can always sue you, but he's not
Sure.
the type. you know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well.
But what's interesting, like a 70s matches that the young Killer Khan was out walking around the ring. He's like, strange, real
Funny.
strange.
Interesting. Yeah.
But now that he's gone, that maybe his family can allow it, that the New Japan World should have important matches of Killer Khan's career in
Mm.
there, or maybe bootleg that the NWA Florida footage, or that some fan will put a old New Japan matches on the on YouTube or something like maybe today you can find some Killer Khan matches.
Sure. You can find
Yeah,
Killer Khan matches on YouTube. I think there's
yeah,
always fans uploading old stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. But they'll come and erase it though.
come and erase it, and another fan will upload it, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah. But it's like Killer Khan's his legacy and accomplishment, his name being so overlooked,
mm,
you know, for today's fans. That's why we have to. This our role to keep his legacy in
mm.
wrestling. Yeah.
I'm happy to. Yes.